Hey, this video I'm just going to talk through an animation I made in an app called Spline. It's browser-based, but they also have a download if you want to run it outside of a browser, and that's how I'm running it here on my Mac. It runs on, since it runs in a browser, it's surprisingly uh, performant on computers that aren't necessarily like super 3D capable. And so I found it to be a pretty nice way to work on 3D projects on just like a MacBook Air. Where I can't as easily work on things like Unreal Engine on that. Um, so here's my little animation. I started with one of their templates, and it's for some flooring to show the different layers. And I don't have a lot of experience building actual animations like this in 3D, so I'm very, very new to it. Probably reflected a little bit in how simple this is. Um, but I'm really happy with the potential I see as my skill develops with this in terms of things I'll be able to illustrate and explain visually that I felt pretty limited with before. And that's why I'm making this video about it. I just kind of want to make a marker in time of where I'm starting when I finally had one of my early successes with something I was working on for a project. This is going in a bigger presentation, and I have a few other elements I'm going to animate in Spline, but I'll just walk you through it real quick here. The way the animations work is they call it what they call states. And so for each of these layers of this piece of flooring material, I have a base state and then another state. And right now I have this group of text selected. So when I change the state, that's the end animation state that you can see that it puts it in. And then for this piece of flooring here, I have the actual coatings for the layers. And so what I did to build this was you create two states for each layer that you want to have animated, and then you apply a transition event, or in this case, it's actually, I think it's called a start event, and then the action that the event takes is a transition. And that lets you do things like control the timing of the animation as far as the easing in and out. There's a number of different ways that it can go: linear, ease in, ease out, ease in and out. And then also there's a spring one, and you can do a custom animation as well. And you can do multiples of these, which is kind of cool also. So you could build multiple uh, transitions there and define them and have them all apply. So once you get those two states set up the way you want, then you assign those. You can select here what state it's going to. I obviously don't have consistent labels here, but you can relabel things. So I think on one of these other layers, I just have it as state. I know that was the text. I had left it as state. The naming's not super important, but as you get a more complex thing, it's nice to have the labels. But that's pretty much it. Then you can export in a lot of different ways. So it's possible to embed this in a web page. It's possible to embed it in an app, like an iOS app or an Android app. And then you can also just download these files. Maybe you wanted to 3D print something you designed. You just want a render of it. And you can also do this video recording. The video recording process is kind of interesting. If I select video recording, it's got MP4 here. You can also select some other ones, WebM, things like that. You can change the frame rate. This duration, you can do it where it's manual or fixed, and I'll show you what that means here. So if I hit start, then it's going to do this. When I hit record, it's going to play my animation and record for the fixed amount of time that I set. When it gets to 0, it'll stop, and it'll flip over to processing. And then it'll give me the option to save the file, I believe, or maybe it'll automatically save it where I assigned it. Yeah, it looks like it. Oh, okay, it's going to have me save it, so I'll just hit save. Okay, now when you do an export where you do it, the video recording with a manual time, what that means is you hit start here and you start the recording, and it's going to play the recording according to whatever, triggers and delays and stuff like that you've set up for it. But then you could spend more time navigating around after it's done, and you can see I don't have everything on the same plane there or anything. So you can move the camera around and you could make additional movements manually if you needed to. And you can hit stop, and that will process and create another file to save. Okay, so that's how that works. That's just a little bit about Spline and what I was able to do with it. Yeah, and hopefully as things progress, I'll have more videos about what I'm making. Cheers.